Welcome back to the This Old Baker podcast. I'm Kim, and today I want to talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention in the cooking world: cooking for one or two. Most cookbooks, recipe websites, even cooking shows still seem to think we're all feeding a family of 6. They call for a 9x13 casserole dish, 3 pounds of chicken, an entire loaf of bread, enough mashed potatoes to feed a football team. But for so many of us, life doesn't look like that anymore. I remember when family dinners were loud. Everyone was home. Someone was always asking what was for dinner before lunch was even over. There were after-school activities, busy work schedules, friends stopping by, holiday tables filled with laughter. And somehow, those big casseroles disappeared almost overnight. Back then, cooking a large meal made perfect sense. You weren't making leftovers. You were simply feeding your family. Then one day, without realizing it, everything changed. The kids grew up. They moved out. Maybe they got married. Maybe they moved across the country. Maybe life simply took everyone in different directions. Now you walk into the kitchen, open the refrigerator, and realize it's just the two of you. Or maybe it's just you. Nobody really prepares you for that. We spend years learning how to cook for a crowd, but almost nobody teaches us how to adjust when the crowd gets smaller. And honestly, it can feel a little lonely. Not because of the food, because dinner used to mean something different. It meant gathering around the table, talking about your day, arguing over who was going to do the dishes, laughing, making memories. Now, the kitchen feels a little quieter. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is thinking they still have to cook exactly the way they always did. So they make that giant casserole, and then they're eating it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe even Thursday. By Friday, they're looking at that container in the fridge thinking, if I have to eat one more bite of this, sound familiar? I've heard that story from so many readers, and honestly, I've lived it myself. There comes a point where leftovers stop feeling convenient and start feeling like a punishment. You lose the excitement of trying something new. You get tired of eating the same flavors, and sometimes you end up throwing food away anyway. That's one of the reasons I became so passionate about creating small batch recipes. Not because they're trendy, but because they're practical. I want dinner to feel enjoyable again, without filling your refrigerator with containers you'll eventually throw away. Small batch cooking isn't about settling for less. It's about cooking just enough. Enough for tonight. Enough to enjoy tomorrow's lunch if you want it. But not enough to feel trapped by leftovers for the rest of the week. There's another reason I love small batch cooking. It saves money. I know that sounds backwards. Some people think cooking bigger meals automatically saves more. Sometimes it does, but not if half of it ends up in the trash. Food waste is expensive. Every wilted vegetable, every forgotten container, every casserole pushed farther and farther to the back of the fridge. That's money. And these days, none of us can afford to waste much. Small batch recipes also make cooking feel manageable. Maybe you've had a long day. Maybe your arthritis is acting up. Maybe you're just tired. The thought of pulling out every pot and pan in the kitchen can feel overwhelming. But making something in a couple of ramekins or a small baking dish, suddenly dinner doesn't seem quite so difficult. This is actually exactly why I started building out individual ramekin recipes on the site. If you want to see what I mean, go check out my sausage breakfast casserole for 2. It's baked in individual ramekins. You can assemble it the night before, and there's no giant pan of eggs sitting in your fridge for a week. I'll link it in the show notes. And on the dinner side, I've got a small batch chicken pot pie for 2. Flaky crust, creamy filling, scaled down so there's no extra pie taking up space in your fridge. If you want it in soup form instead, with a biscuit on top rather than a crust, there's a small batch version of that too. I'll link all of it. One of my favorite things to create is small batch desserts too, because sometimes you want dessert, you just don't want an entire cake sitting on the counter calling your name for the next 5 days. I'm actively building out more of those right now, so if that's something you want, tell me. It helps me know what to prioritize. I also think small batch recipes give us permission to enjoy variety again. Instead of cooking one huge meal every Sunday, you can make something completely different every couple of days. You don't get bored. You don't feel stuck. Cooking becomes fun again. If you're listening today because you're in that season of life where the kids have grown, or you're cooking after losing a spouse, or maybe you've always cooked for one, I just want you to know you're not alone. There are millions of people standing in their kitchens every evening wondering what to make without wanting enough food to feed an army. Your kitchen hasn't gotten smaller. Your life has simply changed. And your recipes should change with it. That's the direction you're going to keep seeing more of here at this old baker. I'll always have recipes for holidays, family gatherings, church potlucks, and cookouts. That's not going anywhere. But I'm building out a whole collection specifically for this. More ramekin meals, more dinners and breakfasts for two, more small batch desserts that don't leave you eating the same thing for a week. The pot pie and the breakfast casserole are just the start of it, and there's a lot more coming. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. If this episode reminded you of someone who's also navigating the season of life, share it with them. And if there's a small batch recipe you've been wishing someone would create, tell me. I genuinely want to know because it shapes what I build next. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of the people you love, and remember, the best meals aren't measured by how much food is on the table. They're measured by the comfort they bring. I'll see you next time at this Old Baker podcast.